Hi, my name is KD. The topic for this session is the OCI Events Service. This is actually the first part in the series. For this topic, we are going to start with understanding what events are and then why do we need them, how can we use them. They are very important for automation and serverless kind of architectures. We will look at the OCI event service, start with an overview. I'm going to discuss the key features of the event service, what are some of the core concepts, what are events, rules and actions, etc. And I'm going to talk about common use cases. We'll look at one of those use cases in detail, and I'll also give a demo of how to use the OCI event service in conjunction with other OCI services. When you are using OCI, the resources within OCI they change their states, and what the OCI event service enables you to do is to capture these state changes as events, and based on the rules and actions you specify, you are able to then act on these state changes or these events, and essentially you can create automation based on it, so you don't have to manually intervene on things, and rather than continuously polling for changes in your cloud infrastructure resources, you can use the event service to subscribe to the events that you care about, and then automatically react to them in real and in I would say near real time, uh, by using the OCI function service, by using the notification service, or by writing to the OCI streaming service for later analysis. Uh, so what event service also enables customers to do is to get structured and version events from OCI control planes and data planes. You would not normally have access to these uh, resource changes at the plane level, but with event service you can capture such events from services like compute, block storage, the database cloud service, and object store service, etc. Uh, so events is a very general concept. I'm using events in an overloaded manner. Event service is the name of the service, but in general, events are commonly used in server side code and in distributed systems. The notion is that whenever there is a change in state in one system, and that change in state is captured as an event, and that event leads to something getting done in a second system. So two different systems getting connected in an automated manner using that events is a very common pattern. And for distributed systems, events are kind of necessary for loose coupling, because you want the systems to scale independently, and for that loose coupling pattern, the information can be exchanged between these different parts of the distributed system using events, so that they can work in an asynchronous manner otherwise. Uh, Different cloud providers all publish events in their systems, but it's important to understand the OCI strategy here with respect to events. The notion is that providers, all of them, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and others, uh, they publish events in their own format. For example, there is the AWS Cloud Watch events, and there is the Microsoft Event Grid. Uh, but if there is no common standard, then you as a consumer would have to implement custom logic to capture those events and to act on them. So what we have done is the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, of which Oracle is a part, has an open source standard called Cloud Events. Uh, this Cloud Events standard is what we use for the OCI events service. So what this enables you is platform independence. So if you use Cloud Events as as your event standard, then you can use the same kind of code to handle how to consume events from this Cloud Events standard. And this is the uh, standard that we follow in OCI event service. I'm going to give you an example of what an event looks like in OCI, where it follows the standard. So it gives you sort of an interoperability and no lock-in when it comes to events. Let's look at some of the key features of the OCI event service. Uh, it enables integration with three different OCI services right now. These services are Oracle Function Service, which is functions as a service, lets you set up serverless kind of architectures. It integrates with the Oracle streaming service, lets you set up event streaming kind of architecture patterns, and also custom integrations and to send certain events data for analytics, etc. And it integrates with the OCI notification service. With OCI notification service, when an event happens or occurs, you can fan out and notify the interested uh, people. And the notification service integrates with email delivery. You can send emails. It integrates with PagerDuty, with Slack, and also you can set up custom URLs with HTTPS endpoints. There are six different services in OCI that emit events that can be captured by the OCI event service, and we will look at these services. These are compute, storage, database, and notification service, etc. We'll look at those. It integrates with the identity and access management and monitoring services in OCI, so it's very well integrated with the OCI ecosystem, and you can write IAM policies against it, etc., and get the metrics from the event service, which can be very useful for you as well. And you can use the OCI event service obviously through OCI console, but also through the CLI, and you can invoke it through RESTful APIs, and for that we have a SDK as well. So let's look at some of the common use cases. As I mentioned earlier, uh, it's rather than polling for something to happen, you get to subscribe to events happening, which means that you don't end up wasting CPU cycles, and there is lesser network traffic, and you can act more in a real-time kind of manner. So anywhere, any pattern in which these features are important are a good target as a use case for the OCI event service. Uh, and let's look at a couple of examples, right, to make it real. Let's say you are a database admin is interested in knowing when a database backup in your autonomous database in OCI starts and when it ends, right? You can subscribe to those events and get notified using the Oracle notification service when your database this kind of backup events happen. You can also do automation. Let's say you are interested in when some file comes into your object storage bucket, you want to change its format or create thumbnails automatically, right? And you can use the events service to subscribe to objects getting uploaded into your bucket event. And once that happens, you can invoke OCI function to take the automated action of changing format or creating thumbnail or whatever it is. Okay, so let's look at some core concepts. Within the OCI event service, there is the notion of events. So events within the OCI event service is essentially an automatic notification of a state change as reported by an OCI resource that can emit events. And for example, as I was mentioning, the backup.event begin event and the backup.end event for your database service is an example of event. And again, it follows the CNCF cloud events standard like we discussed earlier. Okay, so what's an event rule? It's essentially a JSON object that you create to subscribe to an event type and to trigger an action should that event occur. So it allows you to define a filter of some kind which matches one or more field values within an event. Based on that rule matching that you specified, then customer defined actions can are invoked, right? And rules can have one or more actions defined to execute when they are triggered. And that brings us to actions. So rules also specify an action, as I mentioned. These are triggered when the filter in the rule finds a matching event. Actions are responses you define for the event matches. There is a defined set of actions that you can choose from to execute. And the content of the event that matches the rule is also passed to the action. These actions can be taken on the OCI function service, the notification service, and with the streaming service, as I mentioned earlier. And based on these, you can implement a wide variety of use cases in OCI and beyond. All right, so this picture should help clarify the whole workflow in event very nicely. And on the left you see the OCI services which have resources that are event emitting. These are the compute service. There is the networking service. For storage, there is the block volume storage service as well as the object storage service, the database service, and the notification service. This is the current list. You can expect more services to get added to this list. And then the events come in and there are rules, and from rules you have to specify actions. And the three services that can help you handle these actions are the function service for serverless triggering of code, the notification service for alerts via email, PagerDuty, Slack, and custom URLs, and the streaming service for routing for analytics and other use cases. So with that, I think I will wrap up the part one of this session. This should give you a broad background into why and what of the OCI event service. In the next part of the series, we will dive deeper into how you can use the OCI event service. Thank you.